Hi YouTube. So I thought I would get on here and record something really quickly before I go to the gym. I'm going to take this stuff off my face, but I thought I'd get on here while I had it all done and I had my hair kind of straightened and stuff and didn't look like a gym rat for a change. Um, Last weekend, my family and I went to see Toy Story 5, and at first I wasn't all that thrilled about seeing it because I had the attitude of, well, there's been enough of them. I think the story's over now. I wasn't very happy with how 4 ended, with Woody not going back with all the toys and Bonnie trying to keep a promise to Andy to take care of the toys, and not everybody's there, and Woody just leaves, and I kind of was disappointed in that ending. And 3 left me really shattered because it's when Andy actually goes off to college. And kind of backtracking, when the first one came out, I was really little. I was like 2, and I remember watching it when I got into like 3 and 4 age group, and my brother had it on VHS, and I think he liked it first, and so that was my first introduction to Toy Story. When the second one came out, I was 6, and I don't remember going and seeing that in theaters. I don't think I ever did, but we did watch it on VHS. I don't know if we had it on VHS, or I don't remember where I actually saw it the first time. And then when 3 came out, I was about 16, I believe, and we went as a family to see that one. I remember that. And then we did the same thing with 4, and by the time 4 came out, I was already in college, I believe. And then now I'm 32 with the release of 5. So I kind of grew up with these movies. And it was just kind of, I did get kind of emotional at this one. I do think it parallels very well with what's going on in today's generation. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't grow up with a lot of technology. I had technology really didn't get big, in my opinion, until like middle school. And even then, I didn't have all the devices that everyone else had. In fact, I was teased a lot in school for not having the most modern technology. Like, everybody wanted the Motorola Razr, and I did not get that as my first cell phone. In fact, my first cell phone, I literally got laughed at for having, because I had a phone that just had 4 numbers on it to call the most important people in my family, plus a number for 911. And that was it. I didn't have anything else like everybody else had. And some people had like the sidekicks that would flip out and give you a keyboard. After I had that phone, I ended up getting a hand-me-down from my dad, and I had that for the longest time before I started getting into the keyboard phones. That was my earliest memory of like technology. I played with dolls, I played with puzzles, I did games and toys, and I played outside a lot. And I see a lot less of that now, with the infiltration of technology. I think that kids are getting way too exposed to screens. I'm just as guilty of it. I'm way too addicted to my phone. I spend more time on it than I probably should. I'm distracted by it a lot, and I get these screen reports from Apple all the time, and I am astonished by the amount of time it tells me I spend on my phone. Am I saying technology is bad? No. I think it can be balanced with actual play, and I don't think parents do it enough. They use technology as a babysitter, and toys fall by the wayside. All kids want to do is sit on the couch and play games on their device. They don't really play with toys like I used to. They don't build, they don't create, they don't imagine. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that with technology. You can, but I feel like we need more balance of technology and actual play. It really opened up my eyes to like things that I want to do as a future parent, if I ever become one, because it was just very eye-opening. And part of me got frustrated with the parents for not paying attention to the things that she was doing on her device in the movie. And obviously, I'm not going to spoil too much of it for those that haven't seen it or are trying to wait for it to go on Disney Plus. But I blame the parents for not, checking up on things. And part of me is also frustrated because she got so ashamed to admit that she plays with toys that she literally didn't want to even talk to the girl that had Jesse and Bullseye. And, you know, it made me really sad. She just kind of closed herself off and stuff. And she was cyberbullied in the movie too. And I can relate to that. I was cyberbullied too on several occasions as a kid. And it's shocking. And it blindsides you. And half the time it's because you are who you are, you know. And in my case, it was just over some kind of drama that I got roped into somehow and accused of. And I remember it very vividly. I got threatened to be beat up. And when you're young, you take kind of some of that stuff seriously. And I literally got cussed out and threatened to be beat up over chat. And we almost got law enforcement involved, but this was before it was really a crime to do something like that. And literally they were threatening to come kill me or beat me up because they thought that I stole their man. And I think that was so stupid. We were like 13 years old at the time that this was going on, and it was so dumb. And looking back on it now, I think it's dumb and silly, but at the same time, when you're that young and naive and don't know a whole lot about the internet, that can scare someone. It scared me. But, you know, I've been healed from that long since, but that was an incident that brought me back to recollection when that scene happened in the movie. And overall, it was a great film. I highly recommend you watch it, especially if you've seen all of them. You know, I just felt like the story ended, though, at 4, in my personal opinion. But at the same time, it was good to see the toys back together and see what happens to them. And I know there's rumblings that there might be a 6th movie, so that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that. And I don't know. Like I've said in previous videos, I still have the other video ideas in mind, by the way. And I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I'm just now getting over being sick. And I just wanted to go ahead and post this because I had a lot on my mind the last few days. And I wanted to get involved in sharing this with you guys. So, but overall, the film was good. And I highly recommend you take your family and you see it. Or you go see it by yourself. And it actually appeals to all types of audiences. Parents and non-parents and kids. And it just sends a really good message that we spend way too much time on electronics, and we really need to do more reading, more old-fashioned things that don't involve so much technology. Not that technology is a bad thing, because it can be good, it can be useful. There's nothing wrong with kids spending some screen time on devices, but there's everything wrong with making that the only thing that they do, and not allowing them to imagine, play, create, build, and do things outside of a device. And like, we introduced devices, I think, in my opinion, way too early. I don't think an 8-year-old needs a cell phone. I don't think an 8-year-old needs a tablet. There are certain tablets you can get that aren't the full meal deal with all the bells and whistles, and I think that would be okay for kids that old. I know for me, my first experience of a tablet was a Leapfrog or a Leap Pad. It was one of those things that you learned to read on, and you would touch it with a pen and it would do certain things and make sounds. I think that is helpful. And that was also a learning tool. You know, things that they can learn with are good tools, I think. And this is just my opinion. I'm not a parent, of course. I can't relate to a parent, but, you know, just from experience in babysitting and just seeing the things that are happening in this day and age, I just know some things that I would do differently personally if I were a parent. But like I said, there's still those videos planned that I said I was going to do. We have all been sick as a family, and I'm trying to get everybody well and not preoccupied and busy with things. And, you know, speaking of sick, you know, I'm just coming out of whatever it was that I had for almost 3 weeks. It was really bad, especially this past week. Like Monday last week, I could barely talk. My throat was killing me, and it was just really hard for me to even muster up recording the short that I uploaded earlier about my grandfather. So there's been that, and then I probably have shared this in several videos, but I have a thyroid that doesn't work. It's really slow. I have hypothyroidism, and I have PCOS, and just here recently, it's been a major struggle of mine, and I fight it every day. And it's not symptoms so much that I deal with. The biggest thing that I deal with is having enough energy and motivation to do things. I try to go to the gym at least 6 days a week. This past week, I felt a little setback because being sick, I've not been able to do that. I work out, I do strength training, I do cardio, I drink water. The only other drinks I normally drink regularly if I'm not drinking water are unsweet tea and, of course, coffee. Coffee is my biggest vice. And I take thyroid pills every day, and they're not really helping. And I just saw my doctor recently, and he's upping my dosage, and then we discussed weight loss medication. I have been fighting losing weight. You guys have no idea, for the last decade of my life. Let's just put it that way. And in 2022, I was changing jobs, and I had been so sick, and I didn't realize how sick I was until I started this new job in 2022 that I currently have now. I was under a lot of stress at my old job. Working out fell by the wayside because I had to work all the time. I was eating unhealthy. I barely cooked. I was eating processed food and eating out, and I was at my most unhealthy. And I was at my highest weight. And I went to Disney with an ex-boyfriend at the time. This is probably 2020, 2021 time frame. And my pictures look horrendous. And I did not like the way I looked. And I went from going to that stressful environment to a new job. And in the process of doing that, I got really sick. Like, my body just decided it didn't want to work. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was my gallbladder. I don't know what happened. But, like, anytime I tried to eat anything, I felt sick. And it wasn't digesting. And it was resting literally at the top of my esophagus sometimes, or at the top of my stomach, and not moving. I wasn't drinking enough water at the time, and I ended up getting a primary care doctor at the time because I didn't have one. And he basically said what to do for the next 2 weeks. And he said, if that didn't improve, we're going to have to send you to the hospital to get an x-ray. And in that process of feeling sick every time I ate anything, I was barely eating every day. And I lost 40 pounds. And I got under my heaviest weight, obviously. And my clothes were loose, and I was going down sizes, and it was great, but I knew deep down that it was not the best way to lose weight. It was disordered eating that I didn't purposely develop. It was from feeling sick every time I ate, and I did not want to feel that way. Well, long story short, I somehow was able to reverse that and, start eating again. My digestive system started working again, and it was just on the cusp of needing to go back for an x-ray. And I started to slowly feel better, and I started to eat again. And as a result, I gained half that weight back. And I've been sitting and stuck at that same weight. And while I was getting my appetite back, I was also getting more active in the gym. I was also going back into drinking water, and I was eating healthy things. And I'm still doing that to this day. And I cook at home, and I try to eat out as little as possible. And when I do eat out, I make sure it's good food, and I watch my portion sizes. And I'm still insecure about my weight. I don't like the way I look in pictures. I feel ugly half the time, and I know deep down I shouldn't feel that way, because I'm kind of slapping God in the face with how he made me and what I look like. And, my weight has been a struggle, and for the last 10 years it has been, and I have tried everything. I've basically killed myself at the gym. I'm trying to eat as healthy as I possibly can and drinking water, and the scale is not moving, and sometimes it's moving in the wrong direction. And in this last appointment, my doctor and I discussed weight loss medication. Well, no surprise to anyone, my stupid insurance, which sucks, does not cover weight loss medication. I literally have to have diabetes for anything to be covered, and I don't have the money for out of pocket, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to try my new dosage of thyroid medication, and I'm going to try taking it differently than I had been taking it. I do think part of me was drinking coffee too soon after taking it, and it wasn't getting absorbed, so I'm going to see what this new dosage does. And I've also reached out to the nurse that helped me with this prescription that he tried to give me. And I basically said, I can't afford this out of pocket. Is there anything else we can do? Can paperwork be submitted for appeal? Are there any other medications I could take that maybe my insurance will cover? So hopefully next week I hear back from them. But my weight loss journey has been so long, and like, I want to look better and I want to feel better, and most of all, I want to be healthier. And I don't want increased risk for things that happen when your weight is out of control. And I do think that those BMI body charts are very unrealistic. I think that the weight that it thinks I need to be at is unrealistic. I'm just trying to get down to a weight that I can possibly manage. I keep going back and forth between the same 4 to 5 pounds, and it's so frustrating because I'm basically doing everything a healthcare professional would tell me to do. I don't sit on my butt all day long. I don't eat like I'm on my 600-pound life. I don't eat unhealthy. In fact, I keep that stuff out of the house. I don't buy bread. I don't drink pop. I keep pop in the house, but it's only for when I have guests over that drink pop. And maybe if I'm having a indigestion or heartburn or something, yes, I'll reach for a pop because sometimes that's all that will help me. Other than that, I don't drink it. I don't drink it like it's going out of style. I try not to eat a whole lot of sugar, or drink a whole lot of sugar. I have tried supplements that are supposed to naturally boost my GLP-1 because that's the component I'm missing. I do sometimes struggle with food noise. I'm not going to lie, and sometimes cravings, but I've ignored those as hard as it is. But I would like for those to disappear, and I'm hoping to take something to kind of help with that, as well as kind of help me not have such an appetite, so that I can continue to better manage my portions. Because I do know there's some things that are within my control outside of my thyroid problem, but trying to do those and still have the thyroid problem is counterintuitive, and it's not helping me. So I am well aware that I could look better and could be better and could be healthier. And, it's put a lot into perspective for me, and it's something that I want to share with you guys, because anytime you get on here and you see someone that is larger, it's so wrong to make false assumptions about them, because just because they are bigger doesn't mean that they're either unhealthy necessarily or aren't trying to do something about it and aren't having secret struggles like I am. It's hard to live in a body that you don't like and struggle with clothing and struggle to look nice, and you see everybody else that looks fantastic in their pictures and you don't, and it's frustrating. And I don't know, I'm just hoping that turns around soon. So it is now getting really late, and I need to get ready to go to the gym before I go do some errands tonight. So I'm going to get off of here now. I just thought I would go ahead and give you guys my rendition of Toy Story 5, as well as what my current struggles are. Hopefully I get some answers. I'm supposed to see my doctor again in October, especially if I do end up finding something that my insurance covers. He also wants to see what the higher dosage of my thyroid medication is going to do. So I have to try to get that first and then get blood work to see what's going to happen with that. And so we'll just see what happens. I'm hoping maybe my thyroid medication will help me so that I don't eventually need to take these drugs, because part of me worries about the side effects, the long-term effects, and the risks, and I don't really want to be on them my whole life. That's not the intention. It's not the goal. I just want a little bit of help to get where I need to be and want to be. And, it would be nice to have clothes that don't fit because they're too big. I want to have that problem, and I want to get new clothes, and I want to be able to keep the weight off so that I can continue to wear those smaller sizes, But it's a struggle. The struggle is real, let me tell you guys. And it doesn't help that my health is against me and not working in my favor. Because it doesn't matter what I do, nothing seems to work. And the only thing that did work was not eating. And I'm not going to do that again, because that was very miserable. I don't want to live like that. I don't even like getting sick to begin with. And I don't want to have a life like that where I have to eat absolutely nothing in order to get down to a size that I feel like I should be. That's not a constructive way to lose weight. And your body goes into shock half the time when you do that. Now, I am an advocate for intermittent fasting. I do think there's benefits to that, but there's a way to do that, and you still have a window where you actually have to eat. And going days upon days upon days without eating anything is not the answer, at least not for me. It may work for some people, but it doesn't work for me. Maybe it will when I get myself on a regimen or a medication that does take that food noise away, but right now that's not an option for me. Anyway, those are my thoughts for today. So hopefully we'll get an interview going soon with my parents when I get a chance and they feel better and we're not so busy. It's just we've got a lot going on this coming month in July. So bear with me. There's a lot coming up that we have to do. We also have family from out of state coming in, and things kind of go haywire whenever they're here, and routines get messed up, and we're not really sure what's going to happen, with my dad's health and everything. So we're kind of up in the air with some things. So stay tuned, bear with me. I will post content as soon as I have it. I hope everybody has a great week and a great July coming up, and I'll talk to you guys some more soon.